And just in case there's anyone here for the first time, or who is new to veganism, or maybe isn't even vegan yet, and you're wondering who you're going to see, this is the founder and director of the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, and I'd have to talk for like half an hour to talk about everything that PCRM has done. But the main thing is I want you to know that Dr. Barnard is just a truly nice man, wonderful person, and he's been coming here to the Summer Fest for years, off and on, and he's one of our Hall of Fame recipients. We adore him, and it's just my pleasure to introduce you to Dr. Neal Barnard.
Thank you. That was very nice. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Today we're going to talk about weight loss. Yes, we are. The old-fashioned approach to weight loss said, if you want to knock off some unwanted pounds, you got to get out the calorie chart and the food scale and eat miserly portions, and by Wednesday you're ready to eat the sofa. And this just doesn't really work. And so those ideas have kind of fallen away. And people have been, for the past 10 or 15 years, been thinking about food patterns. What kinds of foods do you generally eat? And that's been a really good thing. More plants tends to cause people to have healthier weight. But the new thing is that certain foods, specific foods, are much better than others for weight loss. And that's what I want to talk about today. And I want to give a lot of credit to our friends at Harvard, because in 2015, they studied more than 100,000 people. And they found that the more they ate of certain specific foods, the more weight they lost. Now that's kind of counterintuitive. You'd think, if I eat more of anything, whether it's healthy or unhealthy, I got to gain at least some weight. That's not what they found. They found that with certain foods, if they ate more of those, they would lose more weight. And of course, you can think, all right, well, if the food controls your appetite, maybe that'll help you lose weight, or if it increases your metabolism. Okay, fair enough. So at the head of the list, I'm going to give you their list, but at the top of the list was the humble and unassuming blueberry. Blueberries. Why blueberries? What's that about? Well, it wasn't just blueberries, it was actually all berries. Blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, all of them, including blueberries in a muffin. As long as you didn't put in 2 tablespoons of butter, it worked. And the thing is, blueberries are blue. Yes, they are. And that blue color comes from anthocyanins. This will be on the test. Anthocyanins are antioxidants that have many, many health effects, but one of the things they appear to do is to increase your calorie burning speed so that you burn calories faster after you have eaten them. So there are blue anthocyanins. Nature has some red ones that are in strawberries. And there's actually a whole painting box of anthocyanins that you'll see in the fall. Don't eat the leaves, although those are anthocyanins, but the healthy ones you can eat. So that was just an association. 2 years later, researchers in the UK decided to put this to the test in a cool way. They brought in identical twins. 2,734 identical twins. And everybody got what we call a DEXA scan. You measure your body composition. And what they found is that within each twin pair, the one who with the highest anthocyanin intake had substantially less body fat, and specifically less abdominal fat, compared with her genetically identical twin sister. So we've taken the genes out. There's something about these anthocyanins. And it wasn't just berries. They said, wait a minute, the blush on a pear, that's anthocyanins. Grapes have anthocyanins. They're all over the place. You just have to know what they are. Don't mix them with unhealthy foods, and they're going to work. But it's not just berries. Cinnamon. Cinnamon contains a compound. Researchers are not necessarily the most creative when it comes to naming things, and the best name they could come up with for this aldehyde they found in cinnamon was cinnamaldehyde. But it's a real thing, and it increases your calorie burning speed. It increases your metabolism just a bit. So in your intestinal wall, you have a receptor. The TRPA1 receptor is sitting there just waiting. It's been there for thousands of generations, waiting for you to have cinnamon toast. And then when you do, the cinnamon releases cinnamaldehyde, which comes down your digestive tract. It triggers the release of adrenaline. Your metabolism goes up. You're burning calories faster for quite a period of time after the meal. So researchers have put this to the test, and there was a really nice randomized trial with 116 people, and half of them got cinnamon and half of them got a placebo. They were in capsules, so you couldn't tell which was which. And the cinnamon group lost, over 16 weeks, about 7.5 pounds. So very cool. Now, when I see research like this, I'm always wondering, is this funded by the American Cinnamon Producers Association? You know what I mean, because there's a lot of nonsense in the world of food. So what we do, this will not be on the test, but this is a technique that we use to see if things are real or not. This is what we call a forest plot, and this is used in a meta-analysis. You take every study ever done, in this case it's cinnamon and body mass index, or you can think of it as body weight. You put each study on its own line, and then if they're right smack on that vertical 0 line, then nothing happened. If it was to the right, people gained weight. If it's to the left, they're losing weight. And as you can see, every study is to the left. So we believe it. There's definitely something here. We think that the cinnamon, like blueberries, is just a metabolism booster. Okay, there are others. Ginger is one. Capsaicinoids, which is the hot and hot pepper, will do it. And you might have experienced this. You are at a Mexican restaurant, and the server or the cook put a few too many jalapenos on your burrito, and your tongue is going on fire. That's capsaicinoids that you are experiencing. So the researchers do exactly the same thing. They feed people these capsaicinoids. They're sweating, the research participants are sweating. They go, oh my God. And at that point, they stick in their ear a temperature probe. Yes, they do. And you know how you can measure like the temperature of a baby with okay, all right. So anyhow, your body temperature goes up. All you're doing is letting the capsaicinoids induce thermogenesis, so that you're just taking calories and releasing them into the atmosphere. And it works if they're fresh, it works if they're pickled. It does not work if it is a bell pepper. Bell peppers have nice crunch and vitamin C, but they don't have any heat. They don't have any capsaicinoids. So they're fine to eat, but they're not going to induce thermogenesis. Okay. So anyhow, I got excited about this because we've always been talking about foods that we should not eat and things to get away from, and instead now we're thinking about foods that we should make sure we include. And they happen to be fun foods, spices and all kinds of things. So you may know Dustin Harder and Lindsay S. Nixon, the world's greatest recipe developers. And we just sat down and said, let's just take the power foods and make them into dessert and salads and soups and main dishes and sides. And so Dustin said, well, I'm going to make blueberry syrup. And Lindsay said, I'm going to put cinnamon on French toast. And I got two power foods in America's favorite breakfast, my blueberry cinnamon French toast. Really cool. And then Dustin said, well, wait a minute. Let me make a triple berry sorbet. You take blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, a little bit of banana, a little bit of cherry juice or cranberry juice if you want it a little more tart, a little bit of maple syrup, put it in a glass bowl, take your immersion blender and go, put it in the fridge, put a little saran wrap on top so it doesn't get ice crystals. You're putting it in the freezer. It comes out very delicately sweet, really nice, really refreshing. It doesn't have that kind of chemical sweetness because everything is natural. So then Dustin got carried away and said, for kids, I'm going to make blueberry pops. And these are all the ingredients. That's all. By the way, these recipes are all in the Power Foods Diet if you have a copy of it. They're all super easy to make. You blend these things together, and the part of the store, the aisle of the store, where they sell can openers and measuring cups, they have, in the bigger stores, they have popsicle forms and sticks. So you just put it there, or you put it in like an ice cube tray, and you freeze it, and all the neighbor kids will come by for these wild purple pops, and they love it. It's great. They want to take some home, but every single thing in it is something that you feel good about kids having. It's the only healthy thing they probably had all month. We released the Power Foods Diet, and Dustin also did the photography. And when he sent it to me, I have to say, I said, Dustin, that photography is great. I mean, it's a little too good. It's about 2 inches away from food porn. And he said, that's the whole idea. Instead of people thinking of all the things you can't have, let's just whet their appetites for all the ways you can make power foods into carrot cake and brownies and every other thing. Okay, so let's go back, back to Harvard. Number 1 weight loss group was berries. Number 2 is cruciferous vegetables. Now, you know about them because broccoli and cauliflower and Brussels sprouts are cancer fighters. They were number 2 on the weight loss list. Number 3, green leafy vegetables, spinach, mustard greens, ordinary salad, lettuce, fine, it still works. Green leafy vegetables are number 3. Number 4 is the melon group, cantaloupe, watermelon. Oh, by the way, something about human behavior. We pick up a cantaloupe at the store. We put it on the shelf in the kitchen or on the counter. And the next day it's still there. And the day after that it's still there and it's kind of starting to shrink. And the day after that it's getting little dents in it. And the day after that we decide, I wonder if this is any good. And we throw it away. Something about human behavior stops us from being able to cut the darn thing up. So when you get a cantaloupe from the store, the first thing you do is take 90 seconds and a sharp knife and cut it into something like that and put it in the cold museum so that when your family members come by and open the door, they're going to pick that instead of whatever junk they were looking for. That's a really healthy snack. And you can do the same with watermelon, so we got to cut it up. All right? Number 5, citrus fruits. And the funny thing here was it wasn't just grapefruit and oranges, also the juice counted. And people will say, eat the fruit. That's better than the juice. True. But at Harvard, the juice counted as a weight loss food. Okay, number 6, legumes. Everybody here's a bean fan, right? We're going to cheerlead for our friend the bean. Well, you know, beans don't get respect. I mean, they've got soluble fiber, they've got insoluble fiber, they've got no cholesterol, no saturated fat, they've got good healthy complex carbohydrates, they've got iron, they've got calcium. They don't have a good lobby group do that. But beans are great. And at Harvard, it wasn't just black beans and pinto beans and bean burritos, but anything made from soybeans also counted. They were all weight loss foods. Okay, so the power foods have 3 effects. They either tame your appetite, or they trap calories. I'm going to explain all these to you. Or they boost metabolism. And let me just walk you through it real quick. Appetite taming. You have a meal. Your digestive tract says, oh, okay, here comes the beans and spaghetti and vegetables and whatever, and it wants to digest them. So it needs to tell your brain to stop eating. I've got enough. I'm the intestine, and this is all I can manage. So it makes a compound called GLP-1 that goes to the brain and turns off the appetite. Novo Nordisk got the idea that they wanted to sell GLP-1. Wouldn't it be great to patent it? Well, you can't, because Mother Nature has that patent. So they made Wegovy, which is a synthetic GLP-1. And they also market it as Ozempic and for diabetes. And it goes to the brain and it turns down the appetite. But your body will do this naturally, depending on what you eat. My research colleague, Dr. Hanna Kaliova, who some of you may know, she's an endocrinologist, great researcher, brought in research participants and gave them a meat meal, like a fast food burger, and no GLP-1 release. She gave the research participants a plant-based sandwich. Bang! The GLP-1 goes up. Why? Because your intestinal tract is thinking about this. If you just send it something that it does not consider food, it's not going to release GLP-1. It has to have fiber, you've got to have healthy complex carbohydrates. If you just ate a bag of marbles, you don't get a GLP-1 release. So your intestinal tract does not react very well to meat. Now, if you eat enough meat or enough fast food burgers, eventually the stretching of your stomach will cause you to stop eating. And for some people, they think that's got to be the time when we stop. We don't stop eating until we have pain. But your appetite turnoff switch actually normally kicks in a couple of hundred calories sooner if we feed our bodies the things that trigger GLP-1. And that's part of why people... Is this clear? Is this making sense? All right, fair enough. Okay, the other thing, you know this already. How many calories in a gram of fat? 9, right? Carbohydrate, 4. Familiar? Did you tattoo this on your forearm like I did? Okay, and fiber has almost no calories at all. So we did a study of a Mediterranean diet versus a vegan diet. And I know what you're thinking. Mediterranean diet. It's got some fish. It has vegetables and fruits, but it's got some fish fat, 9 calories per gram. Chicken fat, 9 calories per gram. Olive oil, that's fat too. Okay, so the question was, would a Mediterranean diet be effective for weight loss? So we brought in 62 people, and half of them went vegan and half went Mediterranean. And then after 16 weeks, everybody switched, and they did the opposite diet. And at the beginning of the study, I have to tell you, when we tracked everybody's body weight as they began, the Mediterranean group thought, this is great. This is so indulgent. I'm able to eat chicken and fish and all the things that I want, and it's just like being in Italy, and isn't this fantastic? It's really a romantic diet. Wait a minute, I'm not really losing much weight. And the vegan group discovered, I guess being vegan doesn't mean that I have to acquire a taste for folk music after all. And they lost weight like crazy. And after 16 weeks, we said, stop, take 4 weeks off, and now start the opposite diet. And the Mediterranean group now began the vegan diet, and the weight came off. And the vegan group now stopped the vegan diet and began the Mediterranean diet. They brought in oil, they brought in fish, they brought in chicken, and they started to regain the lost weight. And we have never had a more angry group of research participants than this group who, after 16 weeks, said, I love the vegan diet. I'm feeling great with it. I'm totally used to it. I don't want chicken wings anymore, and now you're making me do this. So anyhow, there you go. So the point is, fatty foods just don't help you with weight. If a person is eating plant-based foods, they're eating a lot of fiber and complex carbohydrate, and they tend to lose weight very, very easily because these foods trigger appetite control. The second thing is calorie trapping. So we've talked about appetite taming. Calorie trapping is this wild thing. You eat some fiber. As you chew it up, the fiber breaks into a million little sponges, and they go down your digestive tract, and the fiber picks up calories you haven't absorbed yet. So the little fiber sponges are going down your digestive tract, they pick up the calories, they carry them out with the waste, and you are literally flushing calories down the toilet. So researchers at Tufts University put this to the test. 2017, they did this study. They brought in 90 people, and they said, half of you eat white bread, half of you eat whole grain bread, white rice, brown rice. One group's got no fiber, the other group's got all the fiber. And what they found was that in just 6 weeks, they discovered that your average person was losing about 100 calories per day down the toilet just by eating whole grains. Now, 100 calories is not much, but you're going to add it to maybe 200 for appetite taming, another 200 for metabolism boosting. So it doesn't have to be just whole grain bread. It's anything with fiber in it. And that can be beans, that can be vegetables, it can be fruits, it can be the whole grains. But there's lots and lots of things that will do this. Plants have fiber, animals don't. Okay, the third thing is metabolism boosting. And to illustrate this, let me tackle the question that I'm sure was on your mind when you were coming in here this afternoon, which is, what's the difference between you and a crocodile? Okay, let me give you some help. What do you think? No big difference? Oh, come on. All right, here's what it is. When she's a little chilly, she can't make body heat. She has to go to a sunny spot, and the sun has to bake on her back, and gradually she'll absorb that heat. She's cold-blooded. You are not cold-blooded. Now, when I give this lecture in Washington, D.C., I do sometimes have to modify the text a little bit, but let's say this group is, okay, you are not cold-blooded. And you are, as a warm-blooded animal, you can make body heat from eating food. With me? Okay, so come into my lab. Sit down in a chair. I'm going to put a mask over your nose and mouth, and what I will do is find out how much oxygen you're consuming minute by minute, how much carbon dioxide you're putting out. With really easy arithmetic, I know how many calories you're burning. I know what your metabolic rate is. Then I give you lunch or breakfast or some meal, and your metabolism rises because now you're burning calories faster. You're absorbing foods, you're burning them up, and your metabolism increases quite a lot. Okay, so some foods don't do that. Butter, for example, no burn at all. You can eat a whole stick of butter, you just absorb the fat, it doesn't give you a burn. So we did a research study to put this to the test. We brought in 64 people. Half of them went vegan, low-fat vegan diet. The other half went on a more conventional kind of diet. No exercise, 14-week study. And our vegan participants were at first horrified because they thought we were going to make them gain weight. We said you can eat all the pancakes you want, you can eat chili, you can eat linguine, you can eat all these things. And somebody about 2 or 3 weeks into the study discovered that Twizzlers are vegan. They were convinced they would get, no, this is not what we were recommending. But it was just, we just said no animal products, keep oils really low. Their carbohydrate intake went up in the vegan group, down in the comparison group. Both groups dropped their fat intake, but when it came to lost weight, the vegan group had lost 13 pounds in 14 weeks, whereas the comparison group, about 8 pounds. All right, so that's cool. What we discovered is that you can lose weight. But the more important thing is after 2 years, the comparison group had regained their lost weight, the vegan group kept it off. They kept getting a little bit skinnier, actually. So without limiting calories, without limiting carbohydrates, without worrying about portions, weight loss just happens. Great, that's a good observation, but what about your calorie burn? At the beginning of the study, everybody sat down in a chair, we put on the mask, we measured their metabolism, we gave them a specific test meal. Their metabolism went up. 14 weeks later, they came back to the lab, sat in the same chair, put on the same mask, ate exactly the same test meal. Their metabolism had risen by 15%. Their body was physically changing. Let me walk you through this. This is a cell. This is specifically a muscle cell. Your muscle cells are calorie burners, and what's doing that is mitochondria. Do you remember this from high school biology? These little tiny mitochondria turn food into energy. But you've also got some fat inside your cells. Now, doctors hate words like fat because it's got one syllable, so we're going to call it intramyocellular lipid, but it's fat inside the muscle cells. So I'm going to have a cheese pizza tonight, or some French fries, or a burger, and there's a little bit of fat, and some of that fat goes into my cells. And then tomorrow, I'm going to slather olive oil all over my salad, and more fat builds up inside my cells. And as that is happening, the mitochondria cannot function in this oil slick. Okay, fat in cells slows down your after-meal calorie burn. It slows down your metabolism. If your metabolism has slowed down over the years, it is not the calendar pages. It's the accumulated effects of diet. So now I'm on a vegan diet, and I'm keeping oils really low, and the fat goes down inside your cells. You get the fat out of your cells, your after-meal burn comes back, your metabolism goes up. Okay, 15 seconds of hard science. Researchers in Louisiana brought in individuals, gave them a very high-fat diet, 50% fat diet, for 3 days. And just shut down their mitochondrial biogenesis. By that I mean, inside your cells, the mitochondria are constantly being rebuilt. And you can shut that process down, just eat a whole lot of fat. And this is reversible. So our research team did this first in 2005, we did it again in 2020. And what we found is that there's all kinds of foods that you can do, whether you like to cook or you want to be just kind of quick about it. And so Dustin and Lindsay and I just had a blast doing all this stuff. So the last thing I just want to mention real quick is certain foods are much worse than others for weight loss. Starting with salmon. Everybody thinks, oh, salmon, that's got to be so good for me. Okay, but it causes your weight loss effort to stop cold. And that is because Atlantic salmon is 40% fat. And fat has how many calories in a gram? It's got 9. If it's Chinook salmon, it's 52% fat. It's even worse. If it were, I mean, it's almost like Vaseline with fins. Olive oil, a healthier type of fat, no question about it. Olive oil is a much healthier quality. But it's still 9 calories per gram. If it's coconut oil, it's 9 calories per gram, but loaded with saturated fat. Let me say a few bad things about coconut oil, because it's marketed heavily. It's underrated. People don't understand what coconut oil is. Coconut oil and palm oil are heavily saturated fats. That's why they are waxy. That's why they add them to your peanut butter, because it makes it a more buttery mouthfeel. The problem is, look at the saturated fat content of coconut oil. 83% saturated fat. Beef is only about 50% fat. Okay, palm oil very high too. So when you eat it, it raises your cholesterol. So there's no question about it. If you're eating coconut oil, it's bad for your heart. Same thing with palm oil. It raises your bad cholesterol, up it goes. So what should you do with coconut oil? You should make a candle out of it. Or you could shine your shoes. You can wax your car. You can put it in your hair. You can use it on your skin. Don't eat it. Don't feed it to anyone you love. Okay, very last thing I want to talk about. If you were brought here to this conference with somebody else and they didn't tell you what this was about, but you're probably thinking, you know, I think this is kind of a good thing maybe, but you know, I don't think I could really do it. I don't think I could stop eating meat. Okay, let me show you how we do it in our clinic, the Barnard Medical Center, and how we do it in research studies. Step 1, take 7 days. During the 7 days, just think about foods you would eat if you were following a vegan diet. That's it. You don't have to go vegan. Just think about the foods. Write them down on a piece of paper. So all I do is I make cereal. I put it in a bowl. I'm nothing fancy. But if I put on almond milk instead of cow's milk, I guess that's plant-based, isn't it? Okay, and I could have oatmeal. And maybe instead of milk, I'll top it with berries and cinnamon. Okay, I'm building the power foods in to a plant-based diet, and these are foods that are okay. Okay, I'm a sausage guy. Is there vegan sausage? Yeah, it's okay. There's vegan bacon, kind of a liberal interpretation of the original, but you can have it if you want. And there are all kinds of vegan mixes, and as the 7 days go by, you'll find foods you like. You're just thinking about them. If you don't like them, don't put them on the list. If you like them, put them on your list. And at your Italian restaurant, they've got cheeseless pizza. They've got plenty of things that they can top your spaghetti with that don't have animal products in them. Latin American cuisine, beans and rice, veggie fajitas, very simple. Chinese rice dishes, vegetable dishes, tofu dishes, very easy. Extra points for Japanese because they have so many non-oil dishes as well. And Taco Bell is not the pinnacle of culinary art, but if that's where you are, the beet taco, no bean burrito, better. Hold the cheese, add some jalapenos and some capsaicin. Okay, capsaicinoids, that's going to work for me. All right, 7 days have gone by, you got a big list. Step 2, take 3 weeks, eat those foods. That's it. For 21 days, do it no animal products, but eat the foods you already tested and that you actually like. At the end of that time, you will physically be transforming and your tastes will have changed because 21 is the magic number for your tastes to learn something new. It's really, really cool, really easy. Okay, we have an app, 21 Day Vegan Kickstart. It's in English, Spanish. It's on iPhones. It's on your Android. It's free. Menus, recipes, cooking videos, have at it. So this is our team. We've had a lot of fun with this. This is the Power Foods diet. I hope you get a chance to check it out. If you do, let me encourage you to share it with somebody or share the recipes, share my carrot cake. See what happens. If we share things around, especially on social media, it's astounding the lives that you can impact. Let me stop at that point. Thanks very much. Nice to talk to you. Thanks very much.